In July, 3 IAS aspirants drowned after rainwater flooded the library of Rao's IAS study circle basement. This coaching center in Delhi, where they were going to study and taking classes for the entrance test, is not the first tragedy related to a coaching center. Just as coaching institutions have sprung up throughout India, there have been tragic deaths of students in some of these centers due to electrocution, fire, weak building constructions, etc. Yet the students and parents continue to send their children to study in these illegal and often cramped centers. The contrast? There are public libraries where everyone can go and read books from around the world at nominal cost, and yet we seem to have forgotten these public libraries. There's a conundrum here. There's a scarcity on the one hand, and there's public sector libraries that are going to seed. So why are the students literally being forced to go to these crowded and cramped private libraries when the city is full of these pocket-friendly public libraries? Joining me to discuss this are Vinay Sai. He's an IAS aspirant studying in one such cramped library. Anubha Shrivastava Sahai, educationist. And in the studio is my colleague, Lakshna Gulati. Lakshna, I want to start by asking you this. Tell us about your story, Lost Libraries. What did you find when you went with a camera across New Delhi several weeks ago?
Right, sir. So the main incentive for doing this story was to understand, like you said, we have a conundrum.
Yes.
On one side, we have cramped, mostly illegal, like private libraries
basements
that are functioning with barely minimum facilities, right? And you have students who are studying for one of the most competitive exams of the country, and they are choosing to go to these places when there are public libraries. And the most important thing, as any IAS aspirant will tell you, is a space in the hustle bustle of a city to study with a calm mind, where you have just basic facilities and for a nominal cost. We seem to forget that most of these kids also come from different parts of India, and all they want are just basic facilities, that we are not able to provide. So we have a student joining us. Let's listen into what
let's
he's...
listen. Let's ask Vinay this. Vinay, where are you from, Vinay? And how long have you been in Delhi? And how exactly do you go about your daily routine of studying for the IAS?
Sir, actually, I am from Andhra Pradesh. And it's been 1 year since I came to Delhi. And I am preparing for civil service examination here. And I'm taking coaching.
Right. So explain to us, why you go to these libraries, these cramped places. What is it that you really need when you're preparing for the civil services? Do you need a comfortable space? Do you need a quiet space? We're trying to understand why civil services aspirants are going to these cramped libraries of the kind that we saw last month, where 3 students lost their lives. Explain to us what you're really looking for when you go to a library.
Sir, when we come to here, most of the aspirants used to stay in PGs and rooms, and they want to study their subject with their friends, and that family atmosphere and that aspirants atmosphere, sir. So that's why we choose to study at libraries only. Otherwise, it is boring to study in the rooms and other places. So that's why we choose to study in libraries, and that libraries are underground libraries, sir. And daily we go to there and we used to study, but after that incident got happened, everything is changed here, sir.
Everything is shut. We are told, as Lakshna has just told us, that the fact that all these so-called libraries, which are basically basements that have been converted into study centers, they're all been shut. So how are you going about your daily study, curriculum? How do you study? Where do you study now?
Yes, sir. Before that tragic incident got happened, we used to study in underground libraries only, sir. When that incident got happened, that all underground libraries are shown and the libraries are available now, they got increased their prices. They are charging more money. So aspirants like me and others, they won't able to afford that much of money to study. So this is a big problem aspirants are facing in Old Rajendra Nagar, Kalur Bagh areas.
Right. So you're part of the aspirants who were in Old Rajendra Nagar, where those 3 students lost their lives. Very unfortunate incident. But aren't you scared, Vinay, to go into one of these underground libraries, especially after what happened? You saw that horrific video where these students died in that flooded basement. What goes through your mind when you enter such a space?
Yes, sir. It's really very horrible, sir. Daily we are going through that area only when we are coming, and the things getting normal nowadays. But it's not a small issue, sir. Even that death scares me as more, sir. And people are very. And recently the old Rajendra and Karul Bagri aspirants are getting to leave, sir.
Right.
They are leaving this area because of this incident. What happened? Na? They are leaving this area.
They're leaving this area, and I'm going to ask Anubha Shrivastava this. Ma'am, you've just heard from Lakshna, who covered that story on how public libraries are literally going to see it, and you heard what Vinay had to say, that he has no option but to study in these underground basements, which are nothing but basements that are converted into so-called libraries. You know, there's a conundrum here. You have, on the one hand, you have these large public libraries that are literally going to seed because nobody really goes to them. Is there a problem here? Is there some need for maybe a government to intervene and say, listen, let's, at least sections of these public libraries can be open for students who are studying for, say, the civil services or other exams. What's your take on this?
Yeah, thank you for having me on this show. And this is actually a very serious topic, which I really congratulate your channel that you have taken it up. Because see, whatever has happened in Delhi, government has taken action.
Yes.
But as far as children are concerned, as far as students are concerned, they all are not bothered that where the students will go and study now. All this happened because the permission which was being given,
yes,
all these libraries were functioning illegally, and that all the government officials and these coaching institutes were hand in glove. So the students are suffering today. Had it been like if they would have implemented the guidelines properly, now
yes,
the government has come up with the regulation to regulate coaching institute after so many follow-ups. They've been following up, and other educationists also have been following up that let there be a proper regulation to regulate these coaching institutes. Now the government has come up. But where will these students go? Government, definitely I would appeal and request the government to kindly make some arrangement, temporary arrangement at least for these students, so that they can go and study properly, be it UPSC or any entrance, any other exam.
Yes.
If government is not providing proper infrastructure, or if they are having some rules in place, like in basement also, they can relax the rules as far as the libraries are concerned, but there has to be a check and balance. Maybe every quarter or every month, the authorities must visit all these libraries and keep an eye on these libraries. They are following the norms or not. What government can do, my appeal to the government is that provide some temporary provision to all these students who are studying, because they are studying hard for the entrance exam. There might be some other exams also. So that the students will be relaxed, they will get a place, proper place, be it a public library which in place, or maybe the existing libraries in basement, if they can give permission, they can relax the laws which are in place to these coaching institutes. If they can relax some kind of regulation, they can bring in.
Yeah, thanks, ma'am. I'm just going to I'm going to ask my colleague Lakshna on this. Lakshna, so you went across Delhi, you saw all the public libraries that are really going to seed. How many libraries did you visit, and what did you see in all of them?
Sir, I went to 8 public libraries, and I think we need to understand how crucial the role of libraries are to a civil service aspirant, right? Or to any student who's appearing for a competitive exam. You know, we always say that, okay, we've enrolled somebody in a coaching institute, right? But a coaching institute is only for a couple of hours that a student really gets coaching. The rest of the time, mostly for civil services aspirants, it's self-study. It's a lot of self-study.
That's a very important point.
And most of these people cannot study in their PGs, because again, the PGs, there's a lot of, mostly, these are in areas where there are shops close by or whatever. So there's a lot of
lot of noise, there's a lot of ambient sound.
Therefore, a library becomes really important. And now, because of this tragedy that happened, the MCD, and most of these were illegally functioning as libraries, right? No fire permits, nothing.
That's right.
So that's why we decided to do like an on-ground report of the public libraries. And honestly, as somebody of, as a Delhi resident, I don't think libraries are in our culture, and that is That is the basic problem.
That's
we
right.
need to make libraries more imaginative.
Yes.
You know, I reached out to most of these libraries were in a very sad state. Now, for instance, we have a heritage of amazing libraries. We have a library in Old Delhi that is a heritage passed down from us from the British, right?
Yes.
We have, you know, you should have seen the books over there, moth-eaten,
Yes.
dusty covers. That's not what libraries are.
That's-
And you know, these are central. Like when I reached out to Professor Dinesh Singh,
Yes.
who was the former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, I reached out to another academic based in America. And libraries are what build knowledge economies. You know,
Yes.
that's the hallmark of a nation's progress, right?
Absolutely.
So, and most of these libraries, moth-eaten books, dusty. You won't even believe it. The floors had not been swept, even when the libraries were functioning. For instance, Shahadra and all.
Yes.
The loos were unclean. Now we are looking at catering to the needs of, you know, people who are going to become civil services
Absolutely.
people.
The
What kind of
the
facilities
best,
are we giving them?
jobs in the country. What
Yeah.
facilities are we giving
And
them?
for instance, like
Yes.
one academic, one of my interviewees told me, we have a temple in every neighborhood. What about a temple for learning? We
Yes.
seem to have forgotten that.
We seem to have forgotten our temples of learning. And let's ask Vinay this. Vinay, when you start your day and you're putting in 10, 12 hours of study every single day to crack the civil services, what exactly are you looking for in a study space? What do you really need?
But actually, the aspirants must want to access about the libraries, sir. Library is the main thing, and we used to go there and we used to spend all day with libraries only, sir. But libraries are not available in this area, and government and other sectors also not taking much action about this library issue, sir. Why we are not understanding and we are not getting their points.
Right. So, Vinay, are you aware of the existence of these public libraries? I'm going to distinguish the fact that the libraries that you're mentioning are the ones that are the small ones run by the coaching centers. The libraries that we're talking about are the public libraries, which are large reading rooms where you have books and you have chairs and tables. Are you aware of the existence of all of these public libraries in Delhi? Have you made an attempt to go there and study and, prepare for the civil services?
Yes, sir. Public libraries are accessible, sir, but most of the public libraries are not located in our areas, sir. That is the main problem. And yes, sir.
And it becomes a problem for you to travel, commuting to the public library is an issue?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Right. And as Lakshna
Also,
mentioned,
sir,
yes.
And I asked students this when I went on my ground report as
Yes.
well. The one thing, now Mukherjee Nagar and Old Rajendra Nagar are hubs of UPSC,
Yes.
preparation, right? Most of the students, like Vinay said, it's too far to travel. Now we have to understand that these are as it is students, most of them coming
Right.
from outside Delhi,
Yes.
right? Financial resources are a constraint.
Yes.
They are already, PGs are charging exorbitant amounts. They are enrolling for very expensive private coaching.
Yes.
Right? Apart from that, there is tiffin service, there is, all of
That's right,
that,
yeah.
right? So priority is then, why should it be that a student has to reach out to the library?
Right.
Imagination, and that's what, Professor Dinesh Singh also told me, that when he was the Vice Chancellor,
Yes.
there used to be a bus library service. Now
Right.
imagine if there was a bus library service that would take students like Vinay from one
Aspirants.
place to another.
Absolutely, yes.
They won't have to, it would not be a problem.
Right. And Lakshna, I think you've hit the nail on the head here. The problem is not so much about the lack of facilities or the awareness about those facilities. It's a lack of imagination.
Exactly.
And that seems to be the problem when you're talking of, great objectives like creating a knowledge economy. Pillars of that knowledge economy, our human resources, are unable to utilize the existing spaces because of that gap in imagination that lasts. And this is something that we're going to be following. We're very passionate about this topic. Lakshna has done this fantastic story called Lost Libraries. You can catch it on the News9 Plus app.
And I
Download
think we
and
need
watch
to
it.
have the
Yes.
call for action for more, bus services
We need
be,
to have more such,
retained and brought back again. And
You've got your idea for the second story to this, Lakshna, right away. Episode 2 of Lost Libraries. But thank you very much for joining us, Vinay. We wish you all the very best in your quest for entering the civil services. Anubha Shrivastava, ma'am, thank you for joining us. And my colleague, Lakshna Gulati, brought this great story from the heart of Delhi. Delhi's lost libraries, the conundrum that exists when civil services aspirants have no place to go because those flooded libraries, those basements are shut. And on the other hand, you have these public libraries literally falling apart.